Start with the number 5. Is this the number 5 top story? The wallet one? WOS?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
All right. Does Wallet of Satoshi make all user balances public via Spark? This is in the Lightning territory, October 8th, from Scoresby. 14 comments, 2,234 sats. Keyan, yeah, what's your take on all this that went down this week?
Yeah. So, for people that don't know, Wallet of Satoshi left the United States. I don't know, probably early 24. Um, there was I think it was around. It was. Oh no, it was like late 23. They're just like, we're pulling out of the United States. It's like they had talked to. They gotten big enough, and they had started talking to lawyers, and lawyers told them, you know what, you're breaking the law in the United States, providing a custodial wallet that allows people to send money to each other. And so they pulled. They didn't really say all that, but they pulled out of the United States likely for legal reasons. And they continued operating elsewhere, and then they started teasing a few months ago that they were going to come back to the United States in a non-custodial fashion, meaning they don't have to comply with the same regulations because they're not taking custody of people's money. And most people figured they were going to use Spark because Spark had been teasing similarly that they had finished their Spark chain thing, and then there were other just like kind of rumors swirling. And so this week, Wallet of Satoshi released on the App Store, on the App Stores in the United States, and you can now in the United States download Wallet of Satoshi, and it does have, in fact, or it is in fact using Spark. The only problem that people noticed either before or after they released is that in the invoices that pay to your Wallet of Satoshi wallet, it allows, if you look at it closely enough in the right way, it allows you to determine what their Spark address is. And Spark has a public ledger, kind of like mempool.space, but for Spark chain. And you can go and look at that Wallet of Satoshi users' balance and all of their transactions, which is bad for privacy, for hopefully for obvious reason.
So
So
it's
that,
all been verified, Keyan, or no? Has it all
yeah,
been verified? Yeah. Yeah. So we have the usual people like Justin. He's been a big proponent against Spark. Looks like you came in there and says it's not the pub key that you look up. You need to look at the route hints to extract the Spark address. Looks like Scoresby came in with Ben Carmen's tool. What's Lightning Decoder?
yeah, Lightning Decoder is just a website. I think Zebedee. It's a website that Zebedee spun up many years ago, and it's
Mm.
just a simple website where you can plug in a Bolt 11 and extract the details from it.
Mm.
The for It doesn't show you enough information where you can get the Spark address. You kind of have to go a little deeper in the invoice to get the Spark address out of it. Ben Carmen made a tool that, like a really simple tool that extracts it, and then shortly after this kind of came out, or this was being discussed, or Wallet of Satoshi balances are public, um, people, other people chimed in and said that that's like a choice that Wallet of Satoshi is making. They don't have to do that. Apparently, in Breeze's
Oh, really?
implementation of Spark, they're not revealing the Spark address in the invoices. So for some reason, Wallet of Satoshi didn't opt out of that or opt in. I don't know.
So this
Regardless,
is
even
a Wallet of Satoshi decision. It sounds like is what you're saying.
I think it's probably like a Spark default issue, is what I would guess. And then Wallet of Satoshi didn't go out of their way to help people maintain slightly better privacy. Even so, I guess because there's this public explorer, this mempool.space for Spark chain, you can do, even if you're using a wallet that obscures your Spark address, I can zap you a pattern of zaps at the right cadence, the right amounts, and then I can go and I can look in the Spark chain explorer and determine which Spark address is yours from that. So even if I can't see it in the Bolt 11 address, I can do timing analysis and figure out which is Car's Spark address, how much money is is Car sending to his sugar babies,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
I don't have sugar babies, but thank you for.
Sure you don't, but
I sure don't.
you're
Um,
you're famous in Mexico now.
I'm a
You're gonna have
one.
some.
I've always been a one woman man, Keon. That's just how I roll. But I will say this though. I mean, there's a couple takes I have on this, but I would love to hear yours. I mean, what's your take on all this? Like, I think you know my take on this, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so what I'd guess is, so there's a lot to say about this. You could come at it from many angles. A lot of, you could take the angle, well, Spark is trying to comply and be as regulatory compliant as possible, and what they're going to do is they're going to sacrifice user privacy for that, and that could be what's going on. My like less cynical take, although I'm sympathetic to the take where they are trying to comply in a regulatory fashion, is I think they're just going to market with a UX and seeing if that UX has product market fit before they begin doing anything more anything better than what it currently is. So this is kind of their version of a minimum viable product. Um, and then later, if people really like this solution for the Lightning Network, I can imagine them perhaps making it more robust and more private. Although, maybe they don't ever have to do that if they find that users don't care about it, and
Mm.
it also helps their regulatory like arbitrage type of situation.
Yeah, I think I have a different take. Obviously, it's going to be way different than yours. I think there's a couple of things to this. I think you're right. I do think David Marcus, came into the space to lead in this area when it comes to Lightning, and that's what he's going to do. The guy doesn't miss. I mean, he's ex PayPal, he's ex Facebook, and he's talked in front of the Senate hearing when it came to Libra. He knows exactly what those roads look like when he went down them last, and I think you're right. I think there is some sort of um, maybe he sees some future regulatory hurdle. I'm sure he has his reasons as a CEO to think for that. I see it as plain as day, and this is kind of what I've been telling people for the past, 6 to 9 months in the lab is like I actually think David Marcus is coming in the Lightning Network. He's trying to take over the whole thing. Like he's trying to take over the whole pie. And I think for the first time, I would say since the beginning, I would say Jack Dorsey finally has competition, right? Like Cash App is the most popular app. Everybody uses it. And there hasn't really been a competitor outside of Strike. And I think David Marcus is like, no, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to take market share. And not only am I going to take market share, I'm going to win. And I think that's exactly what he's doing. And I think he's approaching it the way he knows how. And I think when you look at some of the work he's done, um, by getting Wallet of Satoshi, that's like some amazing biz dev work, right? Like the fact that no one, I said this many times in the podcast, the fact that no one went to Wallet of Satoshi and closed that deal is just kind of surprising to me. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, it's just wild to me that that never happened before. The other thing I want to mention is I do think it's really interesting that they took the Venmo approach. Like clearly this is more like a Venmo move because Venmo doxes all your payments, and one of the reasons why I don't use Venmo. So I do think that is the approach he's going down, and it's very, it's an all likely possibility, Keon, where maybe he doesn't fix this, and maybe he just sees it as Venmo, and like I say in the lab, like he's gonna do things all the way this way, and I think most Bitcoiners are all the way on the other side, right? And then there's some people in the space that are taking the middle road. And I think you can't take the middle road anymore. You either have to be all the way this way or all the way this way. There is no middle road anymore. You trying to play the business strategy game of being in the middle is not going to work because this guy is playing for keeps out there. That's my take on it, whether it's right or wrong, but that's just kind of how I see it playing out. And the other interesting thing just on the VC side is I don't think there's one Bitcoin VC that's backing Lightspark.
No, there are.
There are, okay. So I
Yeah.
mean, maybe if there's a VC that's listening to this, maybe they can, you know, nudge him a little bit and say, hey, this is not how we do things, and maybe that will convince him, right? But I, like you said, who knows where it lies? Maybe it's on the Wallet of Satoshi side, maybe it's on the Lightspark side, but it sounds like you're saying it's on the Lightspark side or the Wallet of Satoshi side. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think it's confusing because, like, from a regulatory perspective, they don't have to make everything public like this. But in the case where they do come under regulatory scrutiny, it's really nice to say, well, you guys, law enforcement, if you want to look this up, you can. It's all public. I mean, we're not trying to hide anything from you. We're not trying to help criminals. We're helping you. We're exposing them to you. You can
Yeah.
find them. Yeah, just they're out in daylight. So I don't know. It could really go either way. Um, and but I think Wallet of Satoshi should probably hide this from the Bolt 11s. I think it would help. I wasn't. This was the biggest surprise to me. When people have been breaking down over the last Lightning Plus Plus in Berlin, a lot of people broke. There was a talk by Steve Lee where he kind of broke down what's like how Spark is implemented and all the trade-offs they're making. There's a lot to say that's kind of scary about that. But the one thing I didn't realize was this privacy issue. I thought it would be as private as Wallet of Satoshi was, which is like Wallet of Satoshi knows everything about all of your spending habits and how much money you have, but no one else does. In this case, it's just completely public.
Yeah, I'll just say this because this is what I tell people in the lab that are coming to build inside of Plub Lab. Since the end of, since the ETF, there's a different game being played right now. And I saw it when the internet came. Like, I don't know if you remember Tech TV and remember when like, you remember that? Like, I remember seeing it because I was still in college right before I dropped out. And I remember like the internet being this small little thing and there was no big entrance. Like there wasn't any big companies using it. And then all of a sudden, like all the mainstream people came in and all of a sudden they started buying up all these companies and then some, and it was the craziest thing. I remember thinking like, whoa, it just changed overnight, like literally within a few years. And and it started off like one by one. You would see these seasoned entrepreneurs come over and they just straight dominate. And I remember and I remember that feeling when I saw that as a kid, like it stuck with me because I saw it. I remember seeing it, like being in college in like a class and like on the internet and seeing these like things. And I didn't really understand that back then, but I remember the feeling of like, oh wow, like something's changing. Like the internet is changing. There's this, like it's not the cool people that I would see like on these like tech TV and these other people talking about the internet anymore. Like all these big media and these big like conglomerates are coming in and it was over at that point. And when I saw the Lightspark thing, like I guess whenever that happened, like 2 or 3 years ago, I remember thinking the same thing. I was just like, and I listened to David Marcus's podcast. Whenever he does a podcast, I always listen to it because I'm curious of how he thinks through things. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's thinking the exact same thing that he saw probably in the early days when he came on board to some of these other companies. And he's just going to go out there and dominate. And you can't be upset about that. It's free markets, right? So it's weird. Like that's why like I'm just always I'm this is why I'm so like open about collaborating with other businesses in the Bitcoin space and like being open about what we're working on and like sharing and helping other builders and building our own little kind of ecosystem of stuff because this is why you shouldn't be battling other companies that are in the space because these bigger companies are going to come and destroy you. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully, he fixes that, and we'll see. I think it's still early. I don't think it's as big as a deal. The last thing I'll say is like just talking to some of the people here, like Wallet of Satoshi doesn't even work here in Mexico, so it's just in the U.S. And most people in the U.S. don't care um, about privacy anyway. So that's another thing. Most people still use Cash App, right?
Okay.
You guys can talk. There's no problem. We were just talking about the Wallet of Satoshi stuff. Do you have a take on it, Topher? I already said my take.
It's not self custody.
Yeah. Do you want to hear him, Keyan?
He said it's not self custody. I heard him.
Yeah, he said it's not self custody. Yeah. Go ahead, Topher. You can. Did you want to say something? All right, hang on. Let me turn this on. There, it should be. Yeah, that should be good. Say something.
Something.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Okay.
Wait, are you live right now?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, yeah. No, you can't. You can't pass off your custody arrangement to another network, and then just say, "Oh, your self custody." Like our wallet is self custody because we don't deal with the custody. That's like not how that works. So if you don't deal with the custody and somebody else deals with the custody, then it's like, well, is Spark self custody? And I'm pretty sure Spark is not self custody. Like you're trusting them to delete the keys that would otherwise give them control over your Bitcoin. So that's not self custody.
You're trusting one operator to delete the key. That's the assumption. It's somewhat nice in that you're not trusting all the operators to delete the key, but you're trusting that at least one of them, of maybe how many, I think there's only two right now, at least one of them deletes the key, because I think it requires more than one key. I think it requires all keys to spend the funds, and if one of them deletes the key, then you are in self custody. But for that period of time where that key exists, you are not.
But as soon
It's
as
like
the key is brought into existence, like if you're trusting them, so what you're trusting is that when the Bitcoin was transferred to you, that the key that allows the other party to, with the help of the operators, spend your Bitcoin, that the operators, or at least one of the operators, deleted the key. But the thing is that those keys all existed together at one point in time, and you're not part of that arrangement, and that arrangement still exists. So for you to say, well, as long as I trust that somebody deleted the key, that it's self custody, is like, well, okay, but you're still, how do you trust that you have self custody? It's kind of, it doesn't make any sense that you trust that you have self
yeah,
custody.
yeah. That's why Justin calls it custodial. Um, I think it is to show up to BitDevs are KYCing into custodial wallets and thanking the heavens for them. And I think I don't know how anyone who does that can criticize a custodial that helps people not KYC and stuff. Like I, there is we now have another entry in the gradient of like from custodial to self custodial, and the reality is Bitcoiners do not want to run Lightning nodes. Yet they want the fast settlement of Lightning. And I think I almost prefer a solution that doesn't have KYC and stuff to the custodial
Yeah,
arrangements.
I'm not even criticizing the technology. I'm just criticizing the marketing because it's false marketing. It's like when
Yeah,
eCash, when there were people in eCash saying that eCash is self-custodial,
Yeah.
even though they were backing up all their eCash to the mints,
Yeah.
and you still need the permission of the mint to spend your
Yeah.
eCash.
for sure. Yeah, I agree. The marketing is pretty bad, especially when you have a company like a big company like Lightspark is trying to market to a more general audience than just Bitcoiners. They aren't going to get super nuanced on the terminology. They're just trying to grab followers and customers potentially by saying the right magic words. And marketing is always this weird gray area that is somewhat dishonest, unfortunately, or can err on the side of dishonesty, which sucks. But I
Yeah.
think for most Bitcoiners, this isn't super super confusing to them. Lots of people make claims. We see people make claims about decentralization in Bitcoin all the time when there isn't any. Same with self custody. We had people criticizing. You have a lot of people from Cash App criticizing the Spark people, but then you have a lot of you had a lot of the greater Bitcoin community criticizing the Cash App people when they released BitKey because of BitKey's marketing, and so
That's
it's
what
like
that's what I was
everyone.
talking about last week, Keon. It feels almost like business interest. This is where I was saying that last week, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's literally nothing wrong with that. Um, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think we just need to be okay with that. It's the same fight that we're having with Knots and Core, right? Isn't that the argument with Knots and Core, or no? That there's like business interest behind them.
The knots and Bitcoin Core argument has gotten so muddy. I don't even know what the argument is
We don't have to
anymore.
talk about that, but
Yeah,
it feels it all to me. It all feels the same to me when I look at this. It all feels very much the same. And what happened to free markets, man? If if they win, then they win. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, I don't know what's wrong with that. Is that
I
bad?
don't think.
Like,
No, I think part of free markets is free speech, and so if your competitor is lying to your customers, you want to combat the lie, and so you go out there and you combat the lie, and you try to convince your customers that they're lying, and I think
yeah,
that's
sure,
fair too. That's
100%.
part of the
Yeah,
free market. Okay,
yeah, cool.
then there's not. I don't know, like, but free markets aren't sit back and let your customer get lied to. Like that's
But
not free
it's
markets.
also it's also saying what it is. It's business interest, and I think calling that what it is okay too. Like, that's all I'm saying is like it's business interest, and that's okay too. Like, it
I
should
think
just be
part of it, the motive.
they should just be transparent about it. Like, you know.
I think part you can argue the motivation, like some of the energy behind the criticisms, are motivated by business interests. But I don't think the criticisms are valid. Like the like the criticisms of
Oh, a
like
hundred
the
percent,
marketing or the technical criticisms, they're all valid. I get
a
that
hundred
they're like
percent.
maybe a little more energetic because if they can really get people to understand the criticisms, then maybe they
Yeah,
lose fewer customers or
yeah,
gain
and
more
I'm not
customers.
defend for the record because I think people think, oh, Car is defend. I'm not defending David Marcus or Spark or anything like that. I have no pony in this fight or pony in this race. You know,
Where do
I'm
they do
just I'm
pony races? Is that
I'm
out in
just trying to make
Mexico?
a
They do
really
pony
good.
races?
I'm just trying to make a really good clip right now by talking the other side of the argument. But also at the same time, I'm trying to, just to explain that business interests are a thing in Bitcoin, and I think if I'm willing to say something, I think that's an important thing to say. Is there's Sackers, if you're listening, business interests do exist in Bitcoin, and don't fall for it. That's all I'm trying to say here. There's one piece I'd leave you with.
Okay.
Anyways, you got anything else, Topher?
That's related to this. Um, no, I don't think that Spark is purposefully lying to people.
That's what Keon said
Um,
earlier.
I think that it's, and I've run into this personally. Like, you can have honest engineers, and I know Spark has honest engineers working for them, and you have honest engineers that design a really fascinating product, and it's a product that has a complex custody arrangement. And so you can try to explain it, document it, try to teach it to people like how it works so that they understand what they're getting into. But at some point, it gets into the hands of a marketer, and the marketer's like, oh, well, no one's going to understand this, so we're just going to call it self custody. And so I can imagine the engineers ripping their hair out like, oh, well, no, it's not self custody, but they're not the ones making the tweets. It's the marketers making the tweets. So, yeah, so like, I don't think Spark is malicious. I don't think the engineers are trying to dupe people. I think it's just, they built like a product with a complex custody arrangement, and marketers don't care to try to market that or explain it. It's just easier just to say, oh, self custody.
Are they going to be
Also,
at TabCon?
people involved with Spark,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll be
Oh,
there.
okay, cool. We could ask them then. Yeah, that'd be a good conversation to have. Can ask the devs there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're ripping their hair out like, oh no, don't call it that. But they're
Yeah.
not in charge of
Well,
the tweets.
That's a good
maybe
point.
get one of them on, and then we could really stay in our lane, Keyan.
Oh yeah, we won't be able to say anything then.
This is our